A woman stepped inside. She wore an elegant cream-colored designer dress and high heels. Her long black hair rested neatly on her shoulders, and expensive jewelry sparkled beneath the office lights. She looked graceful, confident, beautiful. June stared at her. His face lost all expression. Sujin. Han Sujin smiled gently. It's been a long time, June. The room became unbearably quiet. Minho looked between them before quietly excusing himself and closing the door. Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally, June broke the silence. You're alive. I am. You disappeared. I know. You left without a single explanation. She lowered her eyes. I'm sorry. June's voice remained cold. Sorry isn't enough. Sujin sat across from him. She looked around the office. You've built an incredible company. I didn't invite you here to compliment my success. She sighed. I heard about the baby. June's eyes narrowed. So you know. She nodded slowly. I left her. His hands clenched into fists beneath the desk. Why? Tears formed in her eyes. I had no choice. What does that mean? I was being followed. By whom? I can't tell you. June stood. No. His voice echoed across the office. You vanished for 10 years. You left a child at my front door. You disappear again. And now you come back expecting me to believe you can't explain? Sujin began crying. You don't understand. Then help me understand. She looked away. I can't. June turned toward the window. I spent years looking for you. You knew where I lived. You knew who I was. But you only returned after becoming aware I had accepted the child. The accusation hit harder than she expected. She whispered, I'm sorry. June looked at her one last time. You've said that already. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Maya was teaching Unha how to stack cups by size. No, sweetheart. She smiled. The big one goes first. Unha stubbornly tried placing the smallest cup on the bottom. The tower immediately collapsed. She blinked, then laughed so hard she nearly fell backward. The front doorbell rang. Mrs. Choi answered. A florist stood outside holding an enormous bouquet of white lilies. Delivery for Miss Maya Okafor. Maya looked surprised. For me. There isn't a sender's name. Inside the flowers was a small card. Thank you for taking care of my daughter. Maya's smile disappeared. Her heart raced. My daughter. Mrs. Choi read the card over her shoulder. This must be from Sujin. But how does she know me? Neither of them noticed a black SUV slowly driving past the mansion. Inside sat the same elegant woman who had visited June's office. Sujin lowered her sunglasses. She watched Maya lifting Unha into her arms. A cold smile touched her lips. So, she whispered, that's the nanny. That evening, June returned home later than usual. He looked exhausted. Maya noticed immediately. Tough day. You could say that. She hesitated. Did something happen? June loosened his tie. Sujin came back. Maya froze. The baby's mother? Yes. What did she say? Very little. He told Maya everything. How Sujin claimed she had left Unha. How she refused to explain where she had been. How she insisted she couldn't reveal the truth. Maya listened quietly. When he finished, she asked one simple question. Did she ask how Unha was doing? June frowned. No. Did she ask to see her? No. Did she ask if she'd been sick? Or happy? Or scared? June remained silent. Maya looked down. A mother who truly misses her child asks about the child first. Her words echoed in June's mind. He replayed the conversation. Sujin had admired his office, commented on his success, apologized repeatedly, but she had never once asked how Unha was. Later that night, June stood outside Unha's bedroom. The little girl slept peacefully, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Maya gently covered her with a blanket. She had a good day? Maya whispered. June nodded. I met her mother today. Maya remained silent. I thought seeing Sujin again would answer my questions. Did it? No. It only created more. Maya looked at the sleeping child. I don't know what happened 10 years ago. She turned to June. But I know one thing. What? Unha already knows who makes her feel safe. June followed her gaze. The little girl had unconsciously reached for Maya's hand even in her sleep. His heart softened. Across the city, inside a luxurious hotel suite, Sujin poured herself a glass of expensive wine. The television displayed a business report praising Kong Holdings' record-breaking profits. She smiled with satisfaction. Her phone rang. Did you meet him? A man's voice asked. Yes. And? He still trusts his heart more than his head. Good. What about the child? Sujin walked to the window. I don't want her. The man laughed quietly. I know. I only want Kong Jun. And everything he owns. She ended the call, then opened a hidden folder on her laptop. Inside were dozens of documents about Kong Holdings, property records, financial reports, photographs of June, and one file labeled, Last Will and Testament of Chairman Kong. Sujin smiled. Very soon, she whispered, all of it will belong to me, but hidden in another part of Seoul. Someone watched the same hotel through a camera lens. The mysterious figure lowered the binoculars and spoke softly. She's lying. A second person asked. Should we tell Kong Jun? The figure shook his head. Not yet. Let her make the first mistake. Because the biggest secret of all was not that Sujin had returned. It was that someone else had been watching her for years. A week passed after Sujin's unexpected return. Although she had not contacted June again, her presence lingered in his mind like a shadow. He found himself wondering why she had come back after 10 years only to leave more questions than answers. At the mansion, however, life continued. And for the first time in years, it was a happy life. One Saturday morning, June canceled all of his meetings. Minho nearly dropped his tablet. Sir, you canceled your entire schedule? I did. You've never done that before. June picked up his car keys. I'm taking the day off. For business. No. Minho stared at him. Then why? June answered simply. I'm spending the day with my family. The words slipped out before he could stop them. His family. He stood still for a moment, then quietly walked away. Back at the mansion, Maya was preparing pancakes in the kitchen. The sweet smell filled the air. Unha sat in her high chair, banging a spoon against the tray. Mrs. Choi laughed. Our little princess is demanding breakfast. Just then, June walked into the kitchen wearing something no one had ever seen him wear before. A simple white sweater. Blue jeans. No expensive suit. No tie. Maya blinked. You look different. June looked down at himself. Is that a bad thing? She smiled warmly. No. It suits you. For a brief second, their eyes met. June quickly looked away, pretending to be interested in the coffee machine. Mrs. Choi noticed everything and hid another smile. After breakfast, June surprised everyone. I thought we could go out. Maya looked confused. Out? Unha shouldn't spend all her time inside. Mrs. Choi nodded excitedly. That's a wonderful idea. Within an hour, they were walking through one of Seoul's largest parks. The trees swayed gently in the summer breeze, while children laughed as they chased pigeons across the open fields. Unha sat happily in her stroller, pointing at everything she saw. Duck! She squealed at a small pond. Maya gasped. Did she just say duck? June smiled proudly. I think she did. You've been teaching her? Maybe. Maya laughed. So that's your secret. As they walked, people began recognizing June. Isn't that Kong Jun? The CEO? Who's the woman with him? And the baby? Several people secretly took pictures with their phones. June noticed. His expression hardened. Immediately, he moved closer to Maya and gently pulled the stroller behind him, shielding Unha from the cameras. Let's go this way. Maya understood without him explaining. She quietly followed. After a few minutes, they reached a quieter part of the park. I'm sorry, June said. You have nothing to apologize for. I've never liked media attention. I can see that. He looked at her. Does it bother you? What? People assuming things. Maya smiled. People always assume things. What matters is the truth. June found himself smiling again. She had a way of making complicated things sound simple. Near the lake, Unha suddenly pointed toward a small ice cream stand. Ice! Maya laughed. She doesn't even know what ice cream is. June looked thoughtful. Can babies eat it? A tiny taste. He walked to the stand and returned with 3 cones. 1 vanilla, 1 chocolate, 1 strawberry. You bought 3. I wasn't sure what everyone liked. Maya burst into laughter. You really do buy everything. June handed her the strawberry cone. I guessed. You guessed correctly. Their fingers brushed for the briefest moment as she accepted it. Neither said anything, but both noticed. While Unha happily enjoyed a tiny spoonful of vanilla ice cream, an elderly woman sitting on a nearby bench watched them with a smile. She finally walked over. What a beautiful family. June and Maya looked at each other. Before either could explain, the woman continued. Your daughter has your smile. June almost corrected her. Almost. Instead, he looked at Unha. The little girl was laughing while trying to feed Maya with her tiny spoon. Maya accepted the imaginary bite dramatically. Mmm. So delicious. Unha clapped excitedly. The elderly woman smiled. Children know where love is. She bowed politely before walking away. Neither June nor Maya spoke for several minutes. Something about her words lingered. That evening they returned home tired but happy. As Maya carried the sleepy Unha upstairs, the little girl rested her head on Maya's shoulder. Half asleep, she mumbled, Mama. Maya smiled sadly. I'm not your mama, sweetheart. Then Unha looked toward June. Dada. June froze. His heart skipped. The word was soft, barely audible, but he had heard it clearly. Maya had heard it too. They exchanged surprised glances. Unha smiled sleepily, then closed her eyes. June whispered, Did she? Maya nodded. Yes. Neither of them could stop smiling. Later that night, after Unha had fallen asleep, Maya stepped onto the balcony for some fresh air. The city lights sparkled below. June joined her a few moments later holding 2 cups of hot tea. I thought you might like some. Thank you. They stood quietly, listening to the distant sounds of Seoul. Finally, June spoke. You know, I've been thinking. About what? If Unha's real family is found. He paused. The mansion will become quiet again. Maya looked at him. I've gotten used to hearing her laugh. So have I. And, he hesitated. I've gotten used to having you here. Maya's heart skipped. She lowered her eyes, pretending to focus on her tea. Neither of them realized how close they were standing. Just then, June's phone rang. The peaceful moment disappeared. It was Minho. Sir. What is it? We've identified the man who carried Unha to your gate. June straightened immediately. Who is he? He worked as a private driver. For whom? There was a long silence. Finally, Minho answered. For Han Soo-jin. June's face lost all color. Are you certain? Yes. And there's something else. What? The driver died in what police called a traffic accident. Minho's voice became heavy. The day after Unha was left at your mansion. June's grip tightened around the phone. An accident. Or someone making sure. The truth would never be told. Across town, in her luxury hotel suite, Soo-jin received a message. The driver has been identified. She stared at the screen for several seconds before deleting the message. Then she smiled. They're getting closer, she whispered. But they're still looking in the wrong direction. She walked to a locked drawer and removed a faded photograph. Unlike the torn picture in Unha's locket, this one was complete. It showed Soo-jin, standing beside a man. But the man wasn't Kang Jun. She gently traced the stranger's face with her finger. You promised we'd never be found, she said quietly. So don't fail me now. Outside the hotel, hidden in the darkness, the same mysterious person watched from inside a parked car. He raised a camera and photographed Sujin through the window. Then he made a phone call. "It's time," the person on the other end asked. "Time for what?" He answered with quiet determination. "Time to tell Kang Jun that the woman he once loved has been lying from the very beginning." The next morning, Kang Jun arrived at his office earlier than usual. He had barely slept. One question echoed in his mind all night. Why would Sujin's driver leave the baby at my door and then die the very next day? Couldn't be a coincidence. As he entered his office, Min-ho was already waiting. "The investigator is here, sir. Send him in." A middle-aged detective walked into the office carrying a thick brown file. He bowed politely. "Mr. Kang, please sit." The detective placed several photographs on the desk. The driver's name was Lee Dae-sung. He worked for Miss Han Sujin for almost 2 years. June frowned. "Did he have a family? A wife and a young son? Have you spoken to them?" The detective nodded. The mansion no longer felt lonely, felt like home. That evening, the peaceful atmosphere was interrupted by an unexpected visitor. One of the security guards entered quickly. "Mr. Kang." "Yes." "Someone left an envelope at the gate." Again. June immediately opened it. Inside was no note, only a USB flash drive. Min-ho arrived within minutes and connected it to a laptop. A video began to play. The recording was from a hospital corridor. The date was 1 year earlier. A woman carrying a newborn baby appeared on the screen. It was Sujin. She looked frightened. A man in a black cap walked beside her. His face was hidden. Then the man spoke. The security camera had no sound, but his lips were clear enough to read. Maya covered her mouth. He said. June stared at the screen. "We have to find Kang Jun." The video ended. Everyone in the room was silent. If the man wanted to find June, why had they waited an entire year before leaving Unha at his mansion? Nothing made sense. Late that night, as everyone slept, June sat alone in his study. He opened the drawer where he had locked away every clue. The note, the photographs, the bracelet, the locket. He spread them across the desk. There had to be something he was missing. Just then his phone buzzed. An unknown number. He answered cautiously. "Who is this?" A deep male voice replied. "If you want the truth." June stood immediately. "Who are you?" "I know who Unha's father is." June's breathing stopped. "What did you say?" "I also know why Han Sujin chose your house." "Tell me." "Not over the phone." The man paused. "Meet me tomorrow." "Where?" "I'll send the address." Before June could ask another question, the call ended. Across the city, inside a dark apartment, the mysterious caller looked at a sealed envelope lying on the table. He slowly opened it. Inside was the stolen DNA report from Sujin's hotel room. His hands trembled as he read the final line. Probability that Kang Jun is the biological father. 0%. He closed his eyes. "So it really is true," he whispered. Unha was never his daughter. But before he could leave the apartment, the lights suddenly went out. Footsteps echoed behind him. He turned around. Too late. A shadow emerged from the darkness. "You should have stayed out of this," the stranger said coldly. A struggle followed. The envelope fell to the floor. Then, a loud gunshot shattered the silence. The DNA report became stained with blood. The sharp sound of the gunshot echoed through the empty apartment. Then, silence. The sealed envelope lay on the floor, stained with drops of blood. The mysterious caller collapsed against a table, breathing heavily. His shoulder had been hit, but the bullet had missed his heart. The attacker looked down at him with cold eyes. "You were warned." He reached for the DNA report. But before he could pick it up, the sound of police sirens filled the street outside. Someone in the building had reported the gunshot. The attacker cursed under his breath, grabbed the envelope, and escaped through the back door. The injured man watched helplessly as the evidence disappeared. Before losing consciousness, he whispered one name. "Kang Jun." The next morning, June was already dressed when his phone rang. It was Min-ho. "Sir." Don't go to the meeting place. June frowned. Why? There was a shooting last night. His heart sank. Where? At the address the anonymous caller sent you. June gripped the phone tighter. The caller? He's alive. But barely. Did he say anything? The police said he mentioned your name before he passed out. June immediately grabbed his car keys. I'm going to the hospital. An hour later, June arrived at the hospital. The detectives waiting outside the intensive care unit stopped him. Mr. Kong, can I see him? Only for a few minutes. June entered quietly. The man lay unconscious, his shoulder heavily bandaged. His face was pale. June stared at him. Then his eyes widened. I know him. The man wasn't a stranger. He had been one of Kong Holdings' drivers years ago. His name was Park Jin-woo. June remembered him because Jin-woo had once driven him and Soo-jin to the airport during their university days. What is he doing mixed up in all this? Before anyone could answer, Jin-woo slowly opened his eyes. His lips trembled. Mr. Kang. June stepped closer. I'm here. You must. His breathing became uneven. Protect the child. June leaned in. Who is she? Jin-woo tried to continue, but before another word escaped his lips, the heart monitor began beeping rapidly. Doctors rushed into the room. You need to leave. June was pushed outside as the medical team fought to save the man's life. Minutes later, the doctor emerged. He survived. June let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. But he'll need time before he can speak again. Back at the mansion, Maya was teaching Eunha how to water the flowers in the garden. Most of the water ended up on Eunha's shoes. She looked down, surprised, then burst into laughter. Maya laughed with her. You'll be a gardener one day. Mrs. Choi stepped outside carrying a tray of fruit. Mr. Kong called. Maya looked up. Is everything all right? He said he'll be home for lunch. Maya smiled. Lately, that had become normal. June no longer spent every waking hour at work. He was always looking for reasons to come home. When June arrived, Eunha ran toward him as fast as her little legs could carry her. Dada! He bent down and caught her. There's my little sunshine. Maya noticed how naturally those words came. He didn't hesitate anymore. He had stopped treating Eunha like a responsibility. He treated her like his daughter. As they sat down for lunch, June looked unusually thoughtful. What happened? Maya asked. He told her about the shooting, about Park Jin-woo, about the warning to protect the child. Maya listened carefully. Then she asked quietly, do you think someone is trying to protect Eunha? Or hide her? June looked at her. I don't know anymore, but I do know this. He looked at Eunha, who was happily trying to feed Mrs. Choi a piece of carrot. No matter whose child she is, I'm not letting anyone take her. Maya felt her heart warm. Those words weren't spoken out of obligation. They came from love. That evening, June received another surprise. The laboratory had completed the fingerprint analysis on the photograph found in Eunha's room. Minho arrived with the report. There were only 2 clear fingerprints. Soo-jin's. Yes. And the second? Minho looked stunned. The second belongs to... He placed the report on the table. Kong Jun. June stared at him. That's impossible. I thought so too. I've never touched that photograph before. Minho nodded. Which means... June finished the sentence. I touched it years ago. The room became silent. If his fingerprints were already on the photograph, then he had once seen the complete picture. But why couldn't he remember it? What had happened all those years ago? Late that night, June couldn't sleep. He walked into Eunha's room. She was sleeping peacefully, hugging her stuffed rabbit. He sat beside her crib. You know, he whispered, when you first came into my life, I only wanted answers. He gently held her tiny hand. But somewhere along the way, his voice cracked. You became my daughter. A tear rolled down his cheek before he quickly wiped it away. I don't care what any DNA test says. I don't care what the truth turns out to be. I choose you. Unaware of his words, Unha smiled in her sleep and wrapped her little fingers around his hand. June smiled through his tears. For the first time, he understood something his mother had once told him. Being a parent isn't about sharing blood. It's about sharing love. Outside the room, Maya had come to check on Unha. She had heard everything. Quietly, tears filled her own eyes. She realized that somewhere between changing diapers, reading bedtime stories, and sharing meals, she had fallen in love. Not with Kong Holdings' powerful CEO, but with the kind, lonely man who had chosen to love a child that wasn't even his own. She quietly walked away before he noticed her. But her heart had already made a choice. Across the city, Sujin sat inside a private office with the mysterious man in the black cap. "The DNA report?" she asked. He smiled. "It's gone." "And the witness?" "Still alive." Her expression darkened. "That's a problem. He won't remember much. We can't risk it." The man leaned back in his chair. "What if Kong Jun learns the truth?" Sujin picked up a glass of wine. "He won't." She smiled coldly. "Because tomorrow, I'm going to ask him to marry me." The man laughed. "After 10 years? He still believes I was the love of his life." She looked out the window toward the glowing skyline of Seoul. "He has no idea that the woman he truly belongs with," she thought of Maya holding Unha, "is already living under his roof." But Sujin wasn't planning to give them that chance. Not if she could help it. 3 days after the shooting, Park Jin-woo finally regained consciousness. This time, the police allowed Kong Jun to speak with him alone. The hospital room was quiet except for the steady beeping of the heart monitor. Jin-woo looked much older than June remembered. His once strong face was pale, and his voice was weak. "Mr. Kong, I'm here." Jin-woo looked toward the door to make sure no one else was listening. "I don't have much time. Don't talk if you're in pain." "I have to." He coughed before continuing. "The child." June leaned closer. "What about her? She was never meant to be abandoned." June's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "The plan was to leave her with you, only until it was safe." "Safe from who?" Jin-woo closed his eyes. "There are people looking for something." "What?" "I don't know." "Then why bring her to me?" Jin-woo looked directly into June's eyes. "Because Miss Han believed you were the only man who would protect her without asking questions." June was silent. That sounded like the Sujin he once knew. But it didn't sound like the woman who had returned. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy the story, don't forget to leave us a comment. Also share and subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell to get notified when a new story comes up. Don't forget to tell us where you're watching from.